Welcome to our Aging and Spirituality podcast. And we're hoping to inspire you today to let go of some of the things that have held you back in the past and move forward to a lot more fun in life. I'm Chris Jensen.
Kathy Lee Taylor, fun sounds good right now. I want
Yeah,
some fun. I want some adventure.
we want adventure, we want fun, we want fulfillment. There's a lot of stuff.
We want lots of stuff.
So we're going to talk a little bit about ageism and what it is and how does it affect us and how do we deal with it. I mean, ageism is basically a stereotype. It's a prejudice, and it's discrimination towards people who, based on their age. There was an experiment that a teacher did with children in class some years ago. And there was a psychological study based on it. And the teacher, for 1 week, all the brown-eyed children were good, and they got all the praise. The next week, all the blue-eyed children.
Yeah.
And what the kids learned, and the teacher learned, that the week that the brown-eyed kids were getting all the praise, the blue-eyed kids felt really bad about it,
Wow.
and vice versa. So
Yeah.
it shows you what prejudice can do, even to a young mind that is not tainted with all the stuff that we have. So we want to talk a little bit about when someone directs an ageism stereotype toward us, how does it impact us? How does it make us feel? And how does it affect what we choose to do in our health? I'll tell you my one story that I had about 5 years ago. I had breast cancer, and I was very fortunate. It was really early. It was really small. And the oncologist I saw initially left. And so this other woman was assigned to me. And when I mentioned this to the breast surgeon, she got this horrified look on her face, but she didn't say anything. So anyway, I go to see this woman, and she starts off by calling me an elderly person. And,
Ah,
yeah.
you did?
And yeah,
Oh,
and
gross.
going through all this stuff in my profile and like telling me I should see this doctor and that doctor and that doctor and just, oh, you should do. And she made me feel like I was falling apart. Literally.
Like you're old.
Yeah. I left there. I came home and I was depressed. I
Mm,
felt so down.
I know.
And the interesting thing is, I talked to a friend of mine, and she said, "Oh, yeah, Georgianne saw that woman when she had breast cancer, and she ended up crying all the time." And
Oh,
so I talked to my holistic doctor, and I told her, I said, "Can you recommend someone?" And she did. And this is the funny part of the story is he saw my record, and I told him, why I was not going to see her anymore and why I was looking for someone different. And he said, "You don't have to tell me anymore. That woman looked for a job with me." He said, "I wouldn't hire her in a million years."
she had a reputation. And
Yeah,
I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
but it's
It,
not
it,
funny.
it's not
Not
funny.
funny.
That's hard
I
on
mean,
people.
right. It was very hard on me. And frankly, if I hadn't been someone who had done yoga for years and years,
Yeah,
I
I would have
would have been
collapsed
stuck in
mentally.
that. And my health would have declined. I mean,
Yeah,
I bounced out of that breast cancer really well. I mean,
quickly.
you know,
That was not what she was trying to knock on there.
right, right. But
I do.
it could have. I mean, it could have. I could have stayed because that day
Yep.
I felt so bad, and I was talking to my husband, and he said, "Well, why are you believing
Letting her
that?"
bug you. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was hard to get out of. Starting
Well,
with
because
being
you're
called,
vulnerable. You're thinking about the word C, you're vulnerable. Like
yeah,
people can affect the outcomes of these kinds of diagnosis with this kind of attitude. It's so painful. It really is. This is a great subject for ageism when it comes to health management because it's one of those isms, like people have these ideas in their heads
yeah,
and it's not real. It's
yeah.
not real.
It's not real. It's not real, and you know, we. It's so easy for us to let ourselves be limited by it, and that's why I thought I wanted us to talk a little bit about
Yep.
how it affects our mindset and how it makes us feel.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and because it has two things that come into my mind when you're talking about this, because I remember you going through that phase
yeah, yeah.
and it was not easy. And it requires a lot of tenderness and a lot of caring for somebody, like I'm currently in physical therapy and I see how the kids work with me and how they're trying to be really kind, like this little old lady hurt her foot, they're trying to help me, and it's kind. But if they weren't that way, it would be such a different experience for me in terms of
Yeah,
recovery,
yeah,
and it has a lot to do with your first of all, your self-perception, how you start treating yourself, how you think about yourself.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Like when they're treating you like you're an old fart, all of a sudden you're believing it. Oh God, I'm an old fart. I can't I can't
Yeah,
do
all of a
anything.
sudden I was thinking, am I really an elderly person?
Yeah.
I
I
never thought of myself like that.
Exactly. It affects how you see yourself and you start internalizing those beliefs. And if those are self-limiting beliefs, you get stuck there.
Yes,
This
yeah,
is the difference between a good practitioner that helps you get out of it. Like another example this morning, I was in physical therapy and for people who don't know, I fractured the fifth metatarsal in my foot. And these kids have been helping me rehabilitate my ankle and my back for 2 months now. And the gal said to me today, Kathy, we need you to see you maybe one more month, but you need to get back out on the court. And I was like, nah, I don't want to get, and I gave her every reason that I can't get back out on the court. And she was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. Like this is not so much your physical healing now, it's your mental healing.
mental, right?
You got to get over it. So you take on those limiting beliefs and you start, and not just that, you're treating yourself poorly. You have less expectations for yourself. You start accepting the limitations, and that's how you start to see the rest of the world. And that's how you start to treat everybody else as well.
That's it.
It's
That-
horrible.
yeah, that's the thing, because then you start doing it to other people
Oh,
inadvertently.
oh,
You,
oh, yeah.
just the contrast of that whole breast cancer scenario. My breast surgeon, on the other hand, who was definitely about my daughter's age, right? Uh, when she first was telling me the treatment, there are two options for treatment, and she said, which one do you want to do? And I said, well, I think this one because it's the most natural. And she said, yeah, if you were my sister, that's what I would advise you to do.
Oh,
And
wow.
I cracked up because I thought, you were young enough to be my daughter. But you know what? It made me feel good
Of course.
when she said, if you were my sister,
Oh,
because it made me feel more vital. And
like you're a human, not just
I
an
was
age.
a human being. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So
that's the whole spiritual principle behind it, Like,
yes,
don't look at people like age or a number or they're a human.
right.
They have feelings, and when you're in the moment, that's what you have to respond to, not your limited beliefs or expectations about who they are, what they can
But
do.
even it's like that with any prejudice, whether
Yeah.
it's brown-eyed kids, the blue-eyed kids, or whether your skin's black, red, green,
Yep.
whatever, that's what prejudice is, and that's what it does.
Yeah.
It's
It's not unlike coaching. Think about it. What does a good coach or a good teacher do? They make you believe you can do something that you don't necessarily believe in yourself.
that's true.
No? And when it's somebody's looking through that lens of ageism, you're old.
Yeah.
It puts all kinds of limitations on somebody
They're
and they
writing you
doubt
off.
themselves.
Yeah,
It's
they're
horrible.
kind of writing you off. Well,
Yeah,
I a couple days a week I watch my 2-year-old grandson,
which
and
is amazing.
yeah, and it's so funny because some of my daughter's friends keep saying to me, "How is this going for you? Is this too much for you? Is it getting harder?" And actually, I said, "No, it's fun." And it's actually getting easier as it gets older because it can talk, and tell me what's wrong. And the funny thing is, after one of them made some comment to me like that, my daughter said, well, you have more vitality and you play with him in a more interesting and energetic way than my 35-year-old friends.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was interesting. Like she said, the other 2 days, there's a nanny that watches him, and she's very good. She's in her mid-30s, and this one park that we like to go to, there's a very steep hill where they live. And she said, you don't mind walking to the park, pushing him in a stroller and back? I said, no, I like to exercise. And she said, the nanny takes a circuitous route because she can't take the hill, and she's 35. And
That's a
so,
trip.
yeah. So it was really good because the expectation was that, oh, I
Yep.
wouldn't be able to do this and that, so, and fortunately my daughter saw it and commented on it. So that was energizing to me.
Yeah, 100%. It is really um debilitating, I think is the right word.
Wow.
When you see through somebody through that ism prism, that
Yeah,
ism prism,
yeah,
it's not different than racism, like you said, the color of my skin, how I look, am I beautiful, am I this, am I that? No, I am human. Treat me like that. I'm not laugh when I see you with your grandson, like he used to be 5 pounds, now he's 10 pounds, now he's 12 pounds. It's like going to the gym and you just keep increasing your weight.
it's over 30 pounds now. And I thought, well, this is good for my bone density,
And you can still lift them and you can still push them. Like, yeah, don't limit us. And that is what society does.
That's exactly what society
People
does.
try to limit us just because they're lazy, and a lot of times they don't want to, see people differently, or they don't know. Maybe it's just, they've been raised in a certain way and taught to treat older people in a certain way. And here in America, I mean, they don't value older age. They really don't. It's all about youth. Youth is, put on a pedestal here, but getting older and being wise, well, that comes along with sitting in a rocking chair.
Yeah, yeah,
Like what the hell? Sitting in a rocking chair in front of a fire.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that, what we can all do is just by being aware. By being aware that's what it is. You
Yes.
don't have to accept it. That's why I like to contrast it to other kinds of prejudice, because most of the people who direct ageism towards us would never do that towards a person of a different color, you
Yeah.
know, or someone who has a physical disability. But somehow it seems to be okay to do it to someone who's over 60.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not valued. And that's really, really sad. And what you said about becoming aware of it is the number one step. Like we always say in yoga, if you want to make a change, you got to know where you are, to where you're starting and how you can make those changes. And I'll tell you, a really easy way to take a look at yourself and how you respond to people when it comes to ageism is look at your language that you're using, the words that you use, because oftentimes you're going to hear microaggressions, and I know that's a word that's very popular with our younger generation because it's so freaking accurate. We are so judgmental of ourselves and of others in so many ways. So when you hear, like for example, if you're talking about yourself and you walk into a room and you stop and you go, crap, what did I come in here for? And then you go, oh shit, I just had a senior moment. Did you? Like, I mean, there's a judgment right there.
Yeah.
You're judging yourself. I had a senior, what? I forgot what I walked into the room for. Like, it's okay, like, why are you talking to yourself like that? That's what I
Yeah,
mean about
like
self-respect.
this is a decline and it's going to keep happening.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
not necessarily. And maybe it means you need to take some more vitamin C or something, like
Yeah, or
maybe,
just you're thinking about a lot of different things.
you're not focused. It can mean so many, many things, but we jump to try to explain ourselves. We
Yeah,
jump to a judgment of what is happening to ourselves. Don't do that to yourself. Stop that right in its tracks and don't have those conversations with yourself because that's what plays on your confidence. That's what
yes, it
plays on
does.
you,
Yes, it does.
wanting to do new things. Like again, I'd take you back to the example of playing tennis. I have been struggling for 4 months now whether or not I'm going to get back on the court because this injury really took me out hard. Took out my ankle, took out my back, hurt my neck. I had multiple repercussions because of it. And so today was the first time that I opened my mind to the thought of, okay, maybe I can do this. Because my little gal was just like, of course you can do this. You can get, and they gave me this little speech about how, you get back on the court and you don't have to be the star player, just hit the ball. Don't worry about running off court to get the balls that aren't, that are too far away. Don't try to be the person you were when you left the court with the injury. Try to go back as a beginner, start over, and have that energy of just being in love with the game and enjoying what you're doing. You're out in the air hitting balls. And for the first time, I felt a little bit of zing go through me, like, oh, maybe I can do this
Yeah.
again.
And you love doing that. And you're so happy when you play tennis.
I haven't had that feel, haven't allowed that feeling in for over 4 months now. So there's still a little bit of fear there. I'm sure when I walk on the court, but the first thing I did when I left the appointment was I texted the two gals that have been waiting for me to get back on the court that I was playing with before. I texted them and said, "Hey, I got a target. We're gonna play the beginning of January." So, and they were like, "Oh shit, finally!" Like, you know.
Well, that's
So
great though. See, that's the thing you can do.
yeah,
Change your mental equipment.
yes, how you
Just
look at it
affirm and
yourself.
make it concrete like you did. You texted someone and you said, I'm going to do this with you at the beginning of the year. And that's the kind of thing that really helps us let go of, because this stuff is insidious, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, if you were 40 years old, you wouldn't have been thinking about not getting back on the
No,
court. No.
no.
Yeah.
No,
So,
you
I mean,
definitely have it
you had an
different.
injury, so that told you to be careful of something. You know, you tripped over a
You don't
ball.
step on the damn ball ground.
Yeah, you don't step on the ball. Yeah.
It wasn't like I did something old. I stepped on
No,
a ball,
you step on the
like
ball. A 20-year-old could step on the ball, you know.
anybody could have done it.
Anybody could have done that. And
Yeah.
so, you know, so it's really and this is
But
something
it,
I love.
but
So
it brings in that subject of aging
yeah,
because
it does.
I am, heading towards 70. I'm thinking, well, maybe the world's trying to tell me I need to not do this anymore. Slow down, stuff. But I look out in the courts and I see people in 80s and their 90s out there hitting balls, So
I
maybe
know.
it looks a little different. Maybe it's not quite as athletic as it used to be. I don't know. I don't know what I'm potential is, but I'm not going to stop myself from getting on the court now. So that feels really
Yeah.
much
See,
better.
now that's a great example of how to overcome the kind of limitation that your own ageism is putting on you. You know?
Myself, yeah.
Yeah, yourself. It's not just other people. It's, we buy into it. That's how prejudice works. We buy into it.
We do. We limit ourselves when we
We
do
limit
that kind of.
ourselves. So
We start
many.
talking about ourselves and thinking about ourselves as old, and it just, it just folds on top of each other.
Right.
One
Yeah,
thought after
exactly.
another. You find yourself sitting in your apartment going, "I can't do anything."
Yeah, yeah.
you
Hmm.
know
Hmm.
so don't let that happen. Don't let those microaggressions, if they're going on in your life and you're spitting them out of your mouth, stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop talking like an old person. Stop treating yourself like an old person, like aging has anything to do with it. I remember so early in my training with Chris in yoga, she said aging is just a number, and she's really lived that premise. That's not just BS. It is just a number when you think about it that way. You're still a human. Relate as a human, act like a human, expect to be treated like a human. Age has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things I heard early on in yoga was that a lot of yogis never tell their age because they feel that it limits them.
Right, it does.
They don't want to think about age and they don't want other people to impose
Perceiving
their
them.
limiting thinking on them because they're the
Exactly.
same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think,
Which is great when you're younger and you're in that nebulous stage between, I don't know, 30 and 50. Nobody can even guess your age. But
oh,
when you get wrinkles like us and you get
right.
just
You get a few wrinkles, they know. They
it,
know.
it looks and feels a little different. You just have to work harder at not being
Yeah.
pigeonholed into certain things, like stereotypes. There are so many stereotypes about being old. Like, oh, people become less productive when they get old. People are resistant to change more when they get old. They're just technology inept when
Oh,
they
yeah.
get old. Don't you love that?
That's
Like,
another thing.
really?
You know,
Screw you.
I
I was around in the 95s when this shit started. Like
I know. I worked in tech. I ran marketing for technology companies for
yep.
years, right? And so this one friend of my daughter's, my daughter said, oh, because she lives down here and we were going to maybe hook up for a ride. And so Z said to her, well, just get in touch with my mom. And she said, oh, does she know how to text? I said, Z, seriously? And she said, well, you know, I said, yeah, I know. Just a stereotype. A stereotype. I mean,
Oh my God, that makes me laugh so hard.
No.
Oh my God. So there's a little message to people of the younger generation. Don't assume anything.
Right,
Ask, like, don't
right.
assume
And
you
just like
don't,
us, we don't want to look at them and assume stuff either, like they don't.
exactly.
Yeah.
But don't look at us and think, oh, you got wrinkles, you don't want to work anymore. You're not ambitious anymore. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You're staying home, or you can't be creative when you're that old, right? What? Like a lot of people, in their 60s and 70s and 80s write their first freaking book because it's taken them that long to figure the crap out, like
It took them that long to be able to do it. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
they become successful for the first time. Start new businesses. You know how many women start new businesses after 60? A
Oh, yeah.
lot. A lot because they were busy taking care of everybody else and raising their families and taking care of their parents. And all of a sudden,
I didn't get this opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, now they got the time. What do I want to do? And that's really a big part
Yeah.
of the ageism whole scheme of things is like knowing who you are, redefining that after you turn 60, because your needs, your desires, your wants, they're not the same. They
Nope.
change.
No.
And you have to relook at who you are and figure out who you are after 60. What makes me happy? Somebody said this to me recently. What makes you joyful? What do you love to do? And I'm thinking, crap, I don't know. It's not the same that it used to be, like a lot of things brought me joy when I was younger, just being on the spiritual journey, just, having a job and being able to pay the bills and raise my kid was one of the most joyful things I ever did. But all of those things are in a different mirror now. So I have to redefine, what all this means for me. And I don't want to redefine it through the lens of being an old person. I don't feel old. I feel like I'm still 16 in here. Like the 16-year-old is still in me, and she's still capable of doing all those things, fulfilling all those dreams and having all those wishes taken care of that I could have when I was 16, more so because I know so much more about the world. I know how to get stuff done now. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess our big thing today is to try and give you some inspiration and some support in just don't accept the limitations.
yeah.
Look at what you want, and just focus on that. Like Kathy's getting back on the tennis court
Yep.
in the beginning of the year. I mean, that's a great example.
And it's really about reframing. Like if you're looking at yourself, reframe how you talk to yourself.
Yes.
Literally,
Self-talk.
take a look at your self-talk. If it has a bunch of ages in it, change it.
Change it.
It will change how your energy flows. It'll change how you feel about yourself. It'll change about what you do during the day because you'll lift those silly limitations and you'll just be doing the stuff that you love to do. And if it's coming from somebody else, reframe that, like somebody else, a younger person is talking to you, an older friend is talking to you because they do it too.
Yeah.
Like reframe it. Tell them how you want to be spoken to. I had Okay, I'll give you this as a great example. I was at a little Christmas party dinner thing the other night, and all the women were over 70, and they were talking about the Red Hat Society. And I'm thinking, what is that Christmas face? Like, what's the Red Hat Society? And I think I kind of know. And she was saying how, they just have fun. They like to have fun, and they like to have adventure, and they get together and they do that. And of course, they were kind and they were going to invite me to do that. But their idea of fun is they go to a restaurant, spend a boatload of money, and get drunk. Not my idea of fun.
Yeah.
So and the funny part was we were like eating dinner. God, I hope they're not listening to this guy. We were eating dinner and they were polishing off after their meal a whole pile of cake and like as much sugar dessert as there was for dinner. Easy. On top of alcohol on time. I know. So and I end up getting judged because I don't do that. They feel like I'm judging them sitting there just by not doing it. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing it, you're part of the crew.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there while they're, like you're watching a meal, eat all their stuff, they feel like you're judging them.
Yep.
nudging them. You want to eat sugar? Knock yourself out. Like, but I don't, I'm not going to do it. And don't feel like, this is the message. Don't feel like you have to do anything that's outside of who you are.
Outside of, yeah,
Let
yeah,
them
exactly.
reframe their point of view,
Yep.
There's a lot of other things that I want to be valued for,
Yep.
like, you know, I want to be in a position where people can see me as a source of, I don't know, mentorship, you know, a source of help, support, love, coaching, caring, wisdom, any of those things where I can help other people because in my heart I want to be of service. I think Chris is very similar in her teaching of yoga. We want to be of service. That's how we want to be
Right.
seen.
Yep.
You know, regardless of age, we have so much to offer. And in that way,
Mhm.
reframing how people see us in that structure, we can be as old as we want. We just keep getting smarter.
That's right.
We
We
just
just
keep
keep
getting
getting
more
smarter.
helpful.
That's
Yeah,
right.
more
That's
experience.
right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So hopefully this has been inspiring to you guys, and please let us know if you're dealing with some issues from ageism and you're
Yeah.
struggling. Let us know. Maybe we can chat and see if we can help you out.
Exactly. I mean, it's still happening in careers. Remember, there's still women in their
Oh,
50s and 60s in careers, and they get to right that point where they're going to retire and they get freaking let go.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
They
That's
don't have
very
to,
typical. That's
yeah,
very
because they
typical.
don't have to get paid,
Right. And
whatever.
they make up some reason.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So, and then those women are sitting there having to redefine themselves, and that's a whole different ballgame when it comes to, okay, now I had a job that I did for all of these years, or maybe something in a very similar industry all of these years. Now who am I? That's a
Yep.
whole new job of redefining. So see that as an exciting
Adventure.
opportunity. You
Yeah.
can, at first it feels a little scary, but it's an exciting opportunity.
Right.
And that's really the point of our cast. After 60, there's nothing but opportunities, limitless opportunities, and
Opportunities.
you
Open
are
yourself to
unlimited
that.
in your
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Open yourself to that.
Open yourself to it and find out what it is.
Right.
And come and play with us. We enjoy having you
Yeah.
join us every week.
Hmm. Thanks for coming today.
See you next week. Bye.